Hi everybody. Okay, session 5 of our story. Let's carry on from where we left off. They covered him up so the princess wouldn't see him and took little Florian to her to prove he was alive and well because he was their only child. But what was to be done with Prince Otto? They took his body into the palace and sent for the royal physician, a worthy old man who'd studied in Heidelberg and Paris and Bologna, and who'd published a treatise on the location of the soul. He'd studied geology and hydrology and physiology, but he'd never seen anything like this before. A dead body that wouldn't keep still. Imagine that, stretched out, icy cold on a marble slab, with its right arm lashing and lashing and lashing, with no sign that it was ever going to stop. The royal physician locked the door to keep the servants out and brought the lamp closer and bent low to look. And then his eye was caught by something in the clumsy arrangement of his clothes. So, avoiding the lashing right arm, he carefully unfastened the cloak and the fur coat and the underjacket and the shirt and laid the prince's chest bare. And there it was, a gash across his breast, just over the heart, crudely sewn up with a dozen stitches. The physician got his scissors and snipped them away. And then he nearly fainted with surprise, because when he opened the wound, there was no heart there. Instead, there was a little piece of clockwork, just a few cogs and springs and a balance wheel attached in subtle ways to the prince's veins, and tick-tock, ticking away merrily in perfect time with the lashing of his arm. Well, you can imagine how the physician crossed himself and took a sip of brandy to calm his nerves. Who wouldn't? Then he carefully cut their attachments and lifted out the clockwork, and as he did so, the arm fell still, just like that. As he got to that point in his story, Fritz paused for a sip of beer to see how his audience was taking it. The silence in the inn was profound. Every single customer was sitting so still they might have been dead themselves, except for their wide eyes and expressions of tense excitement. He had never had such a success. He turned the page and read on. Fritz's story continued. Well, the physician sewed up Prince Otto's wound and let it be known that the prince had died of apoplexy. The servants who'd carried the body in thought differently. They knew a dead man when they saw one, even if his arm was moving. At any rate, the official version was that Prince Otto had suffered a contusion of the brain, and that his love for his son had kept him alive just long enough to drive him home safely. He was buried with a good deal of ceremony, and everyone was in mourning for 6 months. As for what happened to Baron Stelgratz, the other member of the hunting party, no one could guess. The whole affair was shrouded in mystery. But the royal physician had an idea. There was one man who might be able to explain what had happened, and that was the great Dr. Calmenius of Schatzberg, of whom very few people had heard. But those who did know of him said he was the cleverest man in Europe. For making clockwork he had no equal, not even good Herr Ringelmann. He could make intricate pieces of calculating apparatus that worked out the positions of all the stars and the planets and answer any mathematical question. Dr. Calmenius could have made his fortune if he'd wanted to, but he wasn't interested in fortune or in fame. He was interested in something far deeper than that. He would spend hours sitting in graveyards contemplating the mysteries of life and death. Some said he experimented on dead bodies. Others said he was in league with the powers of darkness. No one knew for certain, but one thing they did know was that he used to walk about at night, pulling behind him a little sledge containing whatever secret matter he was working on at that time.